And this is another great leader of intelligent automation in supply chain. And I'm talking about Daphne Liu, who is here with us. She has over 10 years in enterprise level big data open source platforms with extensive hands-on solution design delivery in big data, analytical, AI, and machine learning. Daphne is an experienced team leader with exceptional strategy planning, innovation, creativity, and project rollout skills. She's a frequent seminar speaker and workshop trainer in enterprise-level business intelligence analytics, machine learning solutions, and artificial intelligence. Daphne, on behalf of our global audience, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your expertise with all of us.
Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. Today, I'm going to talk about CEVA's supply chain green journey. First, let me introduce myself. I am the head of AI and ML in CEVA's Matrix supply chain management application. We serve a business supply chain globally who solve today's global CO2 green requirement or compliance growth. CEVA, we devote ourselves to improve our supply chain CO2 consumption. Starting 2021, I have been involved heavily with our CO2 in supply chain project. Today, in this presentation, I will share my approach using AI and ML tools or algorithm to reduce the CO2 consumption in our supply chain management. So on the screen, okay, here. So you can see on the screen right now, this slide, and the slide, you can see, I am sorry, my screen go to the sleeping mode. Okay, so this is our 3 green components we bring in. Okay, so this is Matrix is an application we use to manage our supply chain. So what's happening to my screen? Okay, so there's a 3 components. One is a CO2 aware. One is a CO2 intelligent. One is a CO2 discovery. So now let's go to the next slide. That's our, right now you are seeing our 3 components I'm going to talk about. So before we introduce our component, to reduce the CO2 consumption, we need to understand the CO2 formula. So as you probably already know, some of you, the CO2 calculation is based on your weight, based on your distance, and based on the CO2 factor. So this 3 factor made up to, we multiply them together, we get our total CO2 consumption. So in this 3 factor, to us, like when we management our supply chain, what do we need to consider? Okay, so in way, we are looking for package. How do we package them? Our pallet. How do we make them to a container? In distance, what do we need to think? Okay, we need to plan our city pair. This is city pair. What is our optimized distance? Our port pair and our stops. For the CO2 factor, about our truck size, the airplane type we use, what kind of trip involved in our plan, in our route, like it's a medium distance or it's a long distance trip. So in all above, I'm going to speak our solution in supply chain. In other words, is to reduce the package weight as much as possible. And we want to use optimized trip distance route. We need to plan in advance. Also, we want to consult, to pallet or container, and we want to use large truck size carriers. And we want, for the air, if we need to use the air route, we want to use cargo plane rather than belly freight. And if the time frame permits, we want to ship with rail or ocean. I will explain why. Oop. Go to next slide. Here we go. So our approach, okay. So for our CO2 reduction, we are going to optimize our FTL. I know you have a lot of LTL. So in our goal is we're going to consolidate to make more FTL. That's our goal. And we make a decision. We want to replace as much as possible the ocean, the air route or the ground route with rail route and ocean route. And all this, it need to be done, in the order time or scheduling time. So you have a time, to plan all of this. Okay, so in the air and ground, the consolidation, this part, we're going to give them consolidations alert so they get it. So we will suggest to our customer, we think this is your opportunity to consolidate a package, into a pallet or even go into. Okay, and the air route, we research in advance what is our minimum stop. Okay, because your air, like your plan, how do you connect them? That matter. You can reduce to minimum distance. And we also want to choose the CO2 friendly airlines. So now let's talk about ground part, okay? So in the ground part, you can see on this chart, this is the CO2 factor you look at here. So you can see if you ship a package in an airplane, if you calculate this factor is 47 times more than you go an ocean ship. So the ocean ship, of course, is the most CO2 friendlier the route. But however, not all your package can go with a ocean route. Sometimes, you just need to go with air, or sometimes you really need to use truck. So you just have to keep in mind, if we cannot go to cargo, we cannot go to train. Okay, so our solution come in. So ground, what do we need to do? So we know the factor between different truck. So now you can see for the 3.5, 7.5, that's a different size of truck. You want to use a larger size truck in your solution first. Okay, so we're going to base on our way, but that also has a cost to consider. So you have to find, your perfect solution between that. Pick a good truck size. Also, it's an economy for you to do ship your package or your pallet. And also, we are looking our trip consolidation algorithm. We base on the origin, where you ship it. We base on our port. Could be your airport. What happened to that port over there? What happened to the ocean port there? We give them visualization and we will do our adjustment. Of course, our destination, how many goods, and we also do forecast. How many goods go over there, or should we keep them in the hub waiting for a big truck coming in to carry them? So we do have a consolidation algorithm behind this behind our solution. And we also has an algorithm, we call it shipping unit optimization. We're looking for opportunity to tell our operation that's an opportunity you can consolidate the package, become a bulk, okay? Either most of the time to a pallet or even to a container. Then we give the rail alert. If we think this shipment, we have that window, that time frame is permit, okay, then we will send the rail route alert to our customer where you consider, let's go rail. So now let's talk about air. So on the air side, we are choosing the belly freight. We want the cargo plane because the belly freight CO2 factor is higher than the cargo plane. So you want as much as possible cargo plane. And you also want to prioritize the air carrier. Some airlines, they have a cargo plane, some they don't. And we also prioritize our air carrier. We have an algorithm. So from this CT pair, how many stops they go. So for example, if I want to ship something from Bangkok to Chicago, I want to choose maybe only one stop between them. I don't want an airline go to 2 more stops, because that it's create a distance which you can save for CO2 consumption. We also use the CO2 airline index. This index, you can find it, it basically prioritizes the ranking by their green favoritism. So usually a newer airline, their ranking are higher than an old airline. And if they do more green effortless, that's on top of our ranking. We will use them more than those airlines, they didn't do any effort. And of course, for the air, we are packaged them to pallet or even container, but pallets are easier. Sometimes you just cannot have goods go to a container. And then of course, we will give you ocean route alert in this case. If we find out your delivery day are 6 weeks ahead, we will give you this kind of, say, okay, that's what you should do. We give that alert to our client. So you are going to see in the next, I'm going to present the intelligent dashboard. In the dashboard, you will see CO2 emission index. You will see in this dashboard. You will see our forecast for their CO2 in their trend and their seasoning. We use a linear regression model. You will see the result of that. You will also see how do we provide the trip consolidation opportunity. And you will see we have a CO2 emission saving calculator, and we can go to our dashboard now. Sorry, I need to check the screen. Here's the dashboard. Ooh. When I share screen, I lost my resolution.
We can see your dashboard just fine in the previous shot.
In the previous slide. Okay, so we will do this slide here. Okay. Yeah, because
no,
my
we're able to see your background as well when you switch to the other application. It was fine on this side.
It looks fine? Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. You can see it? Okay, so, okay, fine. Because on my side, it looks, can you see it normally?
We can see normally, yeah.
Okay, in my side, I share, it just looks weird, but I'm gonna just, you can see it. So the first one, we show the CO2. This is for the dashboard we show our client. So they can see their ground, how's their CO2 consumption by ground and by air. And we have we break up the consumption by monthly, also has a running total. And we also can see America, you can see the map is for the consumption for their CO2 for America and Europe, because they use a different standard, different formula, okay? And you also see on this side, CO2 consolidation opportunity by origin. So you can see different origin, who is my #1 origin produce the most the CO2, and you can work on that part. And this dashboard will, trigger so they can see the calculation that way too. You can see that. And on the right-hand side, you also see the index, we call it CO2 index, the forecast for you, for your air, for your ground, for your America, or for Europe. CO2 consumption. So you can plan like this year, how much, and we will compare your previous year to try to save the CO2 for you. Okay. And then on this button, this trip consolidation opportunity is a balloon chart. Okay. So this balloon chart will show you, those big balloons show that's the opportunity. You need to look at, in that trip, in that place, in that origin, or maybe destination, because you are running several different trips. You should be able to consolidate together to do the consideration. So we
Hey,
give them the
Daphne,
detail.
you may
Yeah.
want to refresh the screen because now the dashboard is not displaying correctly. But I don't. It's not a feed issue. It's on your computer though. There is something that's not updating the graphs. We only see kind of fuzzy images on the graphs.
Okay, so I know that's okay. So let's use this one instead. We will use this one.
Okay.
This is a screenshot. My screen resolution is just changed after I share the work. So yeah, so you can see the index. So you can see this balloon here. This balloon chart will tell you your opportunity, how many trees you should consolidate together. And here we give the guideline, and we'll tell you on this chart, you can see if you consolidate, how much your CO2 can save in this chart. Okay, and if you follow the execution plan, how much more you can save. What is your airline consumption if you go through airline? If you will switch, like our execution plan suggestion advice, you will save. So it will be from 4 million, 4.63 million, you can save to 3.72 million. And same thing on the ground and your rail. So we calculate that for you. So I'm going to the next slide. Hey, sorry, I'm going to do it this way. Faster, so sorry. Okay, so we can be more green, like, we do have our first step to help our customer to reduce their CO2 consumption. So what we are working on now? So that's what we are working on. Okay, the CO2 city, we want to have a discovery panel. We got this feedback from our customer. So they want to freely to check from this city to that city, what will be my CO2 consumption and what is the best route for me. So we are working on that. We also has a forecast, based on air and ocean port. So in the future, we're going to show them your airport. What is your airport CO2 consumption look like? What is your ocean port CO2 consumption looks like? And we will give them like a calculator so they can put their distance, their weight, and we will let them visualize their CO2, in the dashboard, like the one I do. And of course, our consolidation opportunity of devices can be better. Right now, we send alert, but right now we want to make it even smarter. It can alert, like, if we find certain days, you can consolidate them together. We'll immediately send you the alert before even the shipment, before the shipment started. And we have a route wizard to suggest before you plan your route. And we're going to have a route wizard to help you to plan your route. So that's what we are going to work on in the future. And the final, what we want is we want a good calculator for CO2, and which will show our customer their CO2 shipment, the whole shipment, and their execution plan. How do they execute this trip? How to run this route, how to get their package, so we will ship it. CO2 formula in there to help the CO2 consumption. I'm sorry for my screen today, and thank you for joining me today. Let me share a CVAS metrics green journey with you. So if you have a question, I am very happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Daphne, for sharing that journey there with with Siva Logistics on how you're really implementing AI and machine learning solutions within the business, which is a very unique application use case. ESG has become so important in the industry and the investment community as well, as we make better decisions aligned with ESG metrics. And you're really showing an example of the practice of what that looks like when you're implementing the strategies. So we definitely appreciate that. And any questions that the audience has, please make sure to ask those questions. I'm gonna ask you, Daphne, to stop showing your screen to the audience. on your GoToWebinar interface, if you can hit that button that says stop showing screen to the audience. And then I'll bring my camera back on for the Q&A. Thank you. And Daphne, my first question has to be with how do you even get started on where you are? I mean, you are now in a pretty advanced level of development here, where you have metrics identified, where you have a machine learning that took place, and some AI that has been working on developing what is the best model for what's going on in your system and making decisions for your operations, which is really fantastic. But the reality is that there's a tremendous amount of work that you and your team has put into this to get to this stage. So I want you to help us, if you can rewind the tape and go back to the beginning, when you started your journey. Where did you start it? How did you even start, building this systems?
Thank you. That's a great question, Jose. We are purchasing an AI and ML tool. Let's say it's like 2 years ago, the company want to spend a lot of money. Every company is doing that. So they are looking for POC idea. Everybody, every team. So then I brought this idea because on the other hand, the company is working on CO2 because we have a lot of the Europe client. And CO2 in Europe is very, very important, to them, So then I brought this idea to the executive. They are, very excited and they support it. So that's 2 years ago. So we have it. In other words, we already have our AI and ML tool we use. We purchase it, and we set it up. So this is our first POC. And like I say, the first one, you already see it. The result is that dashboard. Unfortunately, my screen today, the resolution is not that good, but I can share, if anyone are interested to see, then I can I need to mask some data. Do you know what I'm saying? I can share that. Hopefully, it will help others, their journey. So that's, if you ask me how I started, that's how I started. And we just take it. And because my background is from the analytics, so I already done all this numerous dashboard in our company. So when we bring this AI and ML, actually I just added this AI and ML recipe to our current. So it's not like we are start from beginning. We already have that. So, and like you say, I'm still exciting stuff, the future. That's what me and my team, we are working on. So we will bring more exciting to our solution. If there's an opportunity in the future, I will share.
Absolutely. No, this is fantastic, because again, you are showing your presentation is not about showing the pretty stuff and what it looks like from a high level. You are really delving into the details here, and we all know that the devil is in the details, and how hard it is to actually implement something and make it operational. And you
Yes.
and your team have done just that. It's operational now on your logistic decision making.
Yes.
So let me go back to, since we're talking, this is more of a detailed implementation, which I think is phenomenal, and we appreciate you sharing that with us. Let's go back into the, you said it very well, that you had an analytical foundation. It's
Yes.
like you had relationships with your business and understood the operations and understood what matters and understood the metrics that you need to track. And by the way, for the rest of the audience that is not as experienced, don't take that for granted, because that's a really hard thing to do, because to
really?
just get the alignment.
I didn't know. I just do it. I just did
right it. Just getting the organization to align on what is that we're going to measure, how we're going to measure it, and then you establish that foundation. Well, good, that's very good. Now tell me specifically, now that you have the foundation established, you're collecting some measurements, how did you build your machine learning and AI engine on that to take you to the next level? What are the steps that you take to build now the AI and machine learning engine on top of the analytics that you already had?
Okay, great. Thank you for the question. So, you know, we are a global company. So sometimes we have to collect the data. It's not like an in-house. You know what I mean? Like it's a different, you are dealing with a different time zone, different people, different group, different business nature. You know, you have a different business we are serving. Their business rules are different. So you kind of need to align, but because of the CO2 calculation, like I say, what are we looking for? Weight, distance, CO2 factor. So based on that, coordinate with all your team, different business, ground, air, ocean, you know, collected. So then you POC with one and to show the rest of the group, because everybody's a little bit different, you know. So every group, especially operation, then yes, at first it's hard because you are making a operation to change their habit. Say, hey, from now on, when you do this, you need to look at this. You need to look at the truck. You need to say pallet, tell me your truck size, tell me your pallet. We want pallet. You know, like that is the hard, I will tell you that is the hardest part. Even that today, I don't have all of them, but we have some of it. So I can bring it in for some customer. So that will make customer very happy because I got a visualization now. You are showing me. Once I have this year, next year, I'll tell you what is your goal this year you want to save. And we will monitor that goal for them. That's why I call it CO2 calculator. So once I implement that, and I do have like I say, before when we choose the tool algorithm, you know, AML is very early. So not a lot of, how do you say, user-friendly tool out there. But this year is getting more and more better. We got more and more like a tool we can choose from. So we use, can I say the tool or I shouldn't say the tool? Because
No,
this
it's
tool
okay.
it's okay to say,
say.
okay. They didn't pay me, okay? I just want to share the tool we use, okay? We ended up landed this tool called DataIQ, okay? So it did save our development time with AI and ML. I'm very happy with the product. And the execute is very supported, you know, because it's very expensive. Also, we have to spin up a Spark cluster to help the calculation. So once we have that, it is like you don't have to do the AML from the scratch now, you know, it really speed up, you know, and so we can reduce our developer time, maybe 1 month. And we got, you know, we have the dashboard you see is several algorithms together. It's not just one algorithm. It's a combination of the algorithm and result, we bring it into our analytic engine and then we produce that. You know, so I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does. I mean, there's so much in terms of complexity to doing something like this that we probably can talk for hours, but
Yes.
this is a good view of what you have done. Now, let me ask you this. Now that you are developing, the algorithm is getting improved, if you will, what are some of the ways that you can check the algorithm to make sure that the decisions are the right decisions? Do you have a system for verification or validation of the algorithm?
Yes, that's why we gave dashboard. You know, actually right now we have 2 dashboard, but because today is a time and my monitor resolution, I lost it. So I didn't show you the second dashboard. So that's a 2 dashboard to show historical data. That's the one you guys just saw today. We have another one, it's the future. It's like the order they just placed. So we might have some we have a 2 days window because that's the priority. Some we have a 2 to 3 weeks window. So that we can do something. So immediately our solution, once our client put it in the order, okay, and we run our engine probably 24 hours, we spit out this dashboard to them immediately. So they can look, of course, this is not fine. In other words, they are checking. The client are checking because we're going to suggest the opportunity. And then the operational people are checking. That's for them to follow before they don't have anything. So now based on that second dashboard, we call it the forecast, the future. And then they'll have a CO2 discovery. If I consolidate this together, what will be my CO2? Right? So we will have that come so they know, okay, is that possible? Consolidate, maybe 2 trips because it's a stop, you know what I mean? So you cannot do all of them. So sometimes we merge, you know, even 2, tomorrow 3, do you know what I'm saying? Usually helping them doing this kind of a CO2 calculation. Then they will place the final order. Right now it's still the operational people, they prove it and then they send it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like the whole thing automatically. No, we are not that level yet, but 95% our algorithm is pretty accurate. And sometimes our algorithm even smart and surprise us. Like they'll do an even smart decision than those people think, oh, I can do that. I never know. You know, so things like that, the algorithm. We use the algorithm, I like it very much, surprised me a lot. It's a neural network. That one is like when we do the route, you know, optimized route, it surprises us all the time. Because think about your operation cannot know all the route in SIVA. So once you implement this knowledge to your algorithm, very, very powerful. That has a thousand, hundreds route, you know, for different business, different need, and it just start smart to pick up the good route. We call it optimized route for you. And every route, after our research, we tie into a CO2 factor, the calculation in that route. Like I say, everything you need pre-planned it. Don't just do it randomly, you know. So once you have all that place, you can do it. It's you know, I know. Like you say, I can talk about it all day long. I mean, and you can see my excitement because some of the stuff I see, wow, this thing is so smart. I really enjoy it. And we are going to do more. And right now I'm in the showcase to business because you need to communicate with the business operation. So right now, you know, like this week, next month, I'm in the showcase mode to show the host, to teach them how to use it.
Well,
Yes.
that is just fantastic, Daphne, and I hope that you can continue to develop this and then share with us, you know, what these future developments look like as well. I
Yes.
have a final question here from you from our audience, and the question is about what advice do you have for someone right now who is a leader in supply chain logistics and is thinking about implementing these more sophisticated approaches to their systems, to their processes, to their data? You know, what would be an advice for someone at that stage to move forward with artificial intelligence and machine learning? What would you suggest that they keep an eye on?
Of course, yeah, I would love to, because that took us almost 6 months to, like I said, we interview vendors, you know, until, like I say, I picked DataIQ, you know, and also we have you probably already see the dashboard, the analytic platform. Your company need to set up that too. And the reason we pick, like I pick this two tool, like my analytic tool and include this DataIQ, is everybody will think AI and machine learning is so hard, like it's so difficult. How do I start it? That's why you need this two tool. I picked this two. I find out, hey, it's easy enough because I've been training people all the time for analytics. So once I learned this two tool, I feel this is easy enough. The UI is easy. I can teach this because our goal is not the whole corporate, like the whole enterprise depend on one team. Like my team is like 5 people. Do you know what I'm saying? So I want a tool I be able to teach AI and a machine learning tool. So once you set that one up, you make how not like high anymore. Like AI machine learning is not like there anymore. It's coming here to my team and to my business, to my operation people. I can teach them. So I can tell you today, using data is not only me now. We have a business who put dashboard or some, you know, do on Power BI, Tableau, do you know what I'm saying? That kind of skill set. I can teach them to use this tool. In other words, it's blooming, it's influence the whole enterprise want to do that because I'm able to teach a easier tool for them to use. So that will be my suggestion. You will have to start with that. You know, and this is just, they didn't pay me money. Okay, I want to say that this is just my journey. And I feel this tool helped me a lot.
Definitely, your excitement is palpable. It's wonderful to hear and see the progress you have made. This is a real best-in-class application of AI and machine learning to supply chain. A lot of people talk about it, but they talk in general terms. You are implementing ESG-related metrics to affect your day-to-day decision making. That is a
Yes.
leading application. So we want to thank you for sharing that wisdom and expertise with us. to our audience, we had several questions about how do I get in touch with Daphne directly. I have put on the chat, take a look there, the link, and on that link to our post to the conference, and then on that link you can see Daphne's name on LinkedIn, and you can click on it and then send her an invitation to connect and talk directly with her. We want to thank you again, Daphne, for sharing your wisdom and expertise with our global audience today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and give me the opportunity. And let's keep, I will keep you updated. How about that? Yeah, thank you.
I will be dying to see how this journey continues to progress. It's very exciting. Congratulations again to you and to the team.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Daphne Liu with Seva Logistics, showing really great applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning related to ESG metrics and how that's impacting their day-to-day work and decision making. You know, when we get into the details like that, it's wonderful to see what it takes to get to great applications that impact decision making, like the one that Daphne is showing. She had a little bit of trouble with the resolution of her monitor, but you've seen from the PowerPoint presentation which is a screen capture of the dashboards that they use, and she has volunteered to share with you what those some of those screens look like. So some of you are doing some benchmarking, and you can connect directly with her. Again, use the link that I put on the chat, and then on that link, you know, find her name on LinkedIn and send her a connection request on LinkedIn. We're gonna wrap up the session, and I am going to step out because I have a major commitment that I need to fulfill for the next session, but we're gonna have Chris Hodges with us, who's going to be introducing our next speaker and wrapping up day 2 for us. And our next speaker is coming from Variable, and I'm talking about Gaucher Duval, who is the director for the Lean Center of Excellence at Variable, and he's going to talk about rethinking just in time for supply chains. So it's lots of experience on Lean for sure, but he's going to talk about just in time and the evolution of just in time, especially in the face of all the variable demand and supply disturbances that we have had in the marketplace. So a great practical session from someone who is a true leader and practitioner of improvements and innovations and transformations in supply chain. So close the session for now. We'll be back with Chris Hodges at the top of the hour. Thank you, and bye-bye from me for today. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.